Good evening and welcome to the June meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners. We are coming out of executive session, so I'd look for a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we already did the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag prior to the camera being on, prior to going into executive session. Tonight's a fairly short agenda. We have one set of minutes to adopt from the last meeting, which was the May 14th meeting. There was one correction on the minutes I circulated. I didn't have the dollar amount completely filled in on one of the resolutions. So I'd look for a motion to accept the minutes of the May 14th, 2015 minutes.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Rena Ecuador, Anthony Laurie, all in favor?
Aye.
And that meeting we held at 10 a.m. in the morning on May 14th because we had conflicts that evening for having the meeting, and it was a fairly productive meeting. We quite a bit done in a short period of time. Tonight, let's go to tonight's agenda. I'll go right to the chief's report tonight. Chief Grogan?
Yes, Commissioner. Month of May, total alarms for the month were 278, which is actually down some, but there were actually 13 fire-related, mutual aid provided on 3 occasions. Vehicle maintenance rotation continues. Engine 31, following mechanical repairs and maintenance, then went to the body shop for the repairs that resulted from the ice storm accident and has since returned to service. Actually, it seemed to come out very nicely done. This was followed by Engine 30 that required brake service and then received the full preventive maintenance service. That just returned, and now our Engine 29 has gone out to the repair facility for a full service, as well as some numerous minor repairs, many of which are actually expected to be warranty items. 29 is the 2010, the newest pumper we have. Regular vehicles, 2102 and such, continue to be serviced by local repair stations. We just continue to farm it out. Fire Prevention Office, while continuing to spend much time working with the building departments on numerous major projects, this has been steady right along. Seems everything woke up when the economy started to turn. Along with that, he's also continues his safety education presentations. This past month alone, it included, I believe it was 88 or 90 students, 7th grade students from Eastchester School District. This ongoing program that's actually very well received. This time he used the fire extinguisher simulator. Again, I believe I shared with everybody the thank you letter from the teacher of that class. Along with that, they also, Captain Pintaval and Firefighter Vitarello participated in the annual Eastchester Kids Safety Day that was held this past month. There they used this educational trailer that we actually share. The department did participate and provided and funded special operations training. This specifically was use of metering equipment. It was set up through Westchester County, utilizing grant money. We were actually able to get approximately 40 of our firefighters and officers included in this, and that was a benefit that is actually being reimbursed to us from the county for the time spent, or for the dollars spent. The month of May, we also started at the end and just completed the first of the training days. 2 groups at a time went this time around, so they were able to do some nice live burns and go through a lot of evolutions. The last group actually was trying out a demo thermal imaging camera that we've been shopping around to try and get a couple more of those personal ones so that we basically have one in each house. It served us well, the first ones we got. So they're, along with the training, they're getting to try out some new equipment.
And we do this at the County Burn Center, where they
This
have a
particular
burn building that can burn.
This particular one, and that is also part of the issue, trying to use it, you have to coordinate. Captain Tween does an excellent job of coordinating with Chief Labriola up there. as to when we can use the facility. They were able to take advantage of the burn props, the propane burn, so they were actually doing some nice live fire training. It's good to get a hands-on, working with the larger group. They're able to rotate and get a few good evolutions in, and I got a lot of positive feedback from this particular one. Other years we've done, specialized elevator training was something that Captain Dempsey pushed for, which was an excellent choice. These are things that we use every day. That's more often than fires, but fortunately we don't get the big fires, so you need to stay on top of it. And hopefully everything holds together, and we'll be able to get the second one in later in the year. The month of May, of course, also, so EFD, we participate in many events. Specifically, it was, we culminate with Memorial Day, where we remember our servicemen and women that lost their lives fighting for us. EFD did participate in Eastchester Memorial Day Parade and ceremonies, as well as myself and Chairman Winter were able to participate in both the Bronxville Parade and their ceremonies that followed. Was also able to attend earlier in the month Police Memorial. Once again, attended Tuckahoe Police Memorial Service, and I just commend Tuckahoe Police. They always do an excellent job. They do a very nice service, as well as just the job they do on a daily basis. And then one other night, I also had the opportunity to participate in Bronxville School's first ever read-along, where I was in a group of third grade, nice third grade class, got to read to them. I actually learned a few things as I expected. But
Third graders?
what's that?
From third graders?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. No, it was excellent. They were very good, and it was a nice little program, so I'm sure those continue in the years forward. And otherwise, that's all for right now.
Okay, and the response, the mutual aid response, we've picked up a few calls to Mount Vernon in the last month. Prior to this month, we haven't had many runs to Mount Vernon. This past month, it seems to pick up slightly.
Everything's runs hot and cold. You're hearing all the talk about Mount Vernon, and it was almost the next night we were in Yonkers. We got called to New Rochelle the other night.
That's right, it was New
Yeah,
Rochelle.
we were in New Rochelle. So, everybody needs help once in a while. Yes, there have been, we'll say Mount Vernon has their, we'll call political problems, and we're watching. We'll help them, but if the abuse becomes obvious, then we'll have to take a stand. But I'm not one to turn down other firefighters that need help.
All good. All righty, thank you, Chief. John Molazari, thank you, Chief. John Molazari, our Treasurer's Report.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is the actual to budget comparison for May 2015. Through May, we're currently sitting with a budget deficit of $587,000, which consists of a shortfall in the revenue of $1,470,000 or $471,000. The expenses are below budget by $883,000. The reason for the deficit is we budgeted our taxes 100% for the month of May, which would have been $16,483,300. We received from the town $14,987,000. So that is the major reason for the shortfall. As they get it now going forward, we will start receiving it. One of the things that was said was because the 29th, the last day they could actually pay the taxes, is on a Friday, it didn't get into the bank. So we might see a bigger piece in May also. So hopefully that happens.
Okay, because the way it works is that the town of Eastchester tax roll is what is used to determine the fire district taxes per property owner. Your check goes to the town of Eastchester, the town of Eastchester processes it, and they have to forward to us whatever they collect for the fire district when they collect it, basically is how the law worked. Yeah,
And last year what we did was we got 100% in May, which
right.
for whatever reason, I'm not sure they got 100%, but we got it. Additionally, a copy of the district audit that was completed in February is on file in the business office, so that's available to any citizen that's interested in it. And that's about it, you know. I mean, the revenue will be made up, so, you know, I'm not too worried about the revenue side. The expense side is still in pretty good shape.
Now, you've been,
Timing errors, you know,
right, right. We don't feel we have credit risk to the town of Eastchester.
yes.
As far as you've been spending a fair amount of time with the nice ship recovery for, I think we've had about 18 or so that, and how many of those have actually signed up, you think?
I believe the number is 12. There's one on my desk. I'm assuming that one came in. The chief got it the other day. So I think the number is 12 out of 18 have signed the form.
Okay,
Well, that's, you know, 2/3, and
good,
we'll see where it goes from there.
okay.
Some have given back checks, and, you know, so it's worked pretty well, you know, once they understood it, and so they've signed the agreement, so.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and what that means, at the end of the year, their Medicare reimbursement stays in the district, and we will only send them a statement showing their balance being paid down by the amount of the Medicare reimbursement that we're keeping.
Right, so what we've done there is we've gone to the people who there was a billing issue with, and we offered an agreement where they get a discounted, and we discounted what they owe us by us holding back their future Medicaid reimbursements until that balance is satisfied. And therefore, we thought that was a painless way to go to resolve this issue, and so far, 2/3, I guess, have felt the same way, so that's good. Yep. Okay, well, thank you, John. Anything for us? Anything more we need to do for you, or you're good? Good, you're good, okay. Committee reports. Career firefighter, Mr. Baker's not here, or Mr. Laurie, would you have anything for career firefighters?
We didn't meet, so I can't give you anything.
Okay. Volunteers, I don't have anything new for the volunteers, other than we requested financial statements from the volunteers over a party they hosted in April, I guess was the party. April 12th, they held a large party. We requested some funding information about that event, and we've gotten basically no communications whatsoever back. I don't know how we're going to get communications back, but there is no communications back. In a few minutes, we're going to approve, hopefully, our PERMA reimbursement for the, not reimbursement, PERMA is our workman's compensation insurance. The annual renewal comes up, and the budget line on that for volunteers is about $16,000 a year for our workman's compensation insurance for the volunteers. So if the department does lay out money every year for the volunteers. We do have a duty to oversee the volunteers. They have a duty to give us information when we ask for it. They choose not to, and that's just a problem. It's just a problem, and I don't know how we resolve it.
Commissioner Winters, did you send them a letter?
They were here during the meeting.
Yeah, I know, but did you send them a letter?
We spoke about it at the board meeting, and they were right there. And
You didn't answer my question. Did you send them a letter?
my past FOIL requests to the volunteers have been ignored. My FOIL appeal letters have been ignored.
So you sent them a letter?
I haven't sent it on this one. I handed it to them.
You
They were
handed
sitting
them a
right-
letter?
I handed them the agenda and said, we need
No,
these
no, no,
items.
no, I'm not talking about the agenda. Did you hand deliver, or did you send them a
Okay.
letter?
Tell me now,
To each company. You should send each company a letter. This way, they have it in black and white.
who are the companies? When we have a company, we should just answer it right now, Mr. Laurie.
Yeah, I'll help you out.
Now, these companies, who do we send it to and the name for each one? The name of the person at each company, and who do I send it to and what address? Can we get that?
Yeah, I'll get it for you, sure. I'll get it for you. And then you could send them a letter.
Yeah, so we want, just so we get clear, we want the name of the
Didn't we have
person.
this conversation before?
Yeah.
We've had this conversation repeatedly.
Yeah, but no, I don't think there was any letters sent. Was there any letters sent?
Yes, I
Deja
sent a
vu all
FOIL.
over again.
I sent
Pardon
a-
me?
I've sent,
Deja vu all over again.
I've sent formal FOIL requests.
I'm a member of the Tucker Hose Company, and I never saw a letter come.
Well, we were sending them to the VOA. Should we have not sent them to them?
Yeah, but you should also send one to each individual companies. This way they would answer you. Then you can't say you didn't get any response if they...
Wait, if I send a letter to the Tuckahoe Hose Company
Yeah.
in Tuckahoe,
Yeah.
who's picking up the mail there and answering that letter?
I will.
Well, then, rather than me do that,
Send it to me.
right here.
Save the stamp, just give
I'll save the stamp. It's right here. See the agenda?
I got the agenda, but you
Okay.
didn't, you put it in writing in black
It is
and white.
right. It is right there in black and white. See the
This is
agenda?
not a letter to the company, this is tonight's agenda.
What has the items on it? That's what we're looking for.
But this is not a letter to the company, this is an agenda for the public. Send them a letter and you'll get an answer.
There's, well, so just if you can supply me the name and address of each person's letter and email address,
Get it to you.
hopefully,
I don't know if they, I don't know their email, but I'll get you their name and address.
of each person in each company.
Yeah, sure,
Okay,
all right,
we'll see what happens there.
okey-doke.
Put it in the minutes.
Yeah, I'll be in minutes. Okay. House and apparatus, Mr. Inkledon. Mr. Baker, Mr. Napolitano either.
Both of our projects continue to move forward. We're working on contract issues on both the Chester Heights FCA and on the Tuckahoe floor and ramp project. There was one small issue that came up that the chairman will address in a couple of minutes, but hopefully these issues will all be resolved and we'll sign these contracts within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and thanks for all the work. Peter's been spending a lot of time going back and forth on all these issues, and it's been very helpful. Budget and finance, I don't have anything to report. Health and wellness,
We had a May 1st meeting, and up until now, Mike, you haven't received a second quote for the boat, have you?
Actually, Chairman and I are the ones compiling, because nothing's come back from Health.
Did you get anything? You didn't get,
Well,
No, we've been
throwing
discussing it.
ideas
I think-
around
yeah.
on what we're gonna get.
I think maybe rather than get a inflatable Achilles-type boat, we may be
The one I
better
had
off
said
with a
was geared towards fire service, a little aluminum hull with
aluminum hull with pontoons, maybe more stable and just as light as a rubber boat, and it'd be more of a flat platform for you to work off of, and it would have a very tiny engine on it because they don't need much power.
all right, so
I think that's probably something to think about, rather, because the problem with these little Achilles is that you can't maneuver in them. You're in them, but there's not much room to do anything in. So, yeah, it's still a live discussion. And the other, Commissioner Napolitano and I were on the call with this health and safety meeting, and there were a number of other items that the membership brought up that I think we're going to be trying to make progress on. That's our view. But, you want to go through any of the others?
no.
Okay. Okay, but I think that we have like-minded goals here between the membership and the board on much of these issues. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay,
We have to get I don't have another meeting from them, so who did you talk to last about?
I haven't talked about setting up another meeting.
I'll reach out to Don.
Second week in July would be good for me. No, the first 2 weeks in July are good. The whole month of August. And projects for 2000, do we have any projects? Well, we are working on two of the big projects right now, which are the Chester Heights and the
Tuckahoe Firehouse.
Tuckahoe, if we can think of anything else. We have other projects that we probably should think about figuring out how to move forward on. I know the chief and the members have been talking about it fairly actively, and that's Car 202.
Yeah.
We need to come to a resolution on,
Another demo in-house the other day, and a couple of firefighters on the committee were able to come in, and I'm waiting to get together with them, see what their thoughts were on it, or do we just stick with the original plan? One of the things is, what's happened over the couple of years is that what they originally spec'd out could run upwards of 170, maybe 180, 180,000, which is a lot more that was first considered. This newer option could be half as much, or maybe closer to the 100, the mark that we first planned. But really, I just want to hear back from the guys on the committee, and I want them to make a call which direction we go.
right, so the issue we have is where we have a command car, we call Car 202, It's the car you most often see at any emergency scene if it's the fire department's responding. And that car is a 2007 variety, I think. And so it's getting close to its useful life. The lead time to order another one of these vehicles is 8 months, or do we call it 8 months?
Well, that's the other, this other option that actually looked very nice, looked like a very viable option to me, but it would also be a much quicker turnaround.
So we need to decide what that vehicle is going to be. The board's eager to get this behind us and get some new vehicle in place, whatever that vehicle looks like. And so maybe if the membership and the,
I'll give you, as soon as I get back together with Glenn and John and,
yeah, we can put together something. We'd like to move on it maybe in the July meeting, or, that gives us, assume we're going to have a meeting in July, gives us 3-4 weeks to put, because this is an early meeting for this month. By July, if we can put something together that we're pretty comfortable with, we can vote on it in July. I'd like to get some certainty as to this thing's got to be done one way or the other. That's all. Everybody agree? Okay, so it's going on a while, and maybe Commissioner Laurie can,
What's that?
be the point person for the board or something to figure out this 2102 issue. We need to replace the car, and there's a lot of conversation as to what that should look like.
As long as you don't have a chicken on top of it.
And, excuse me?
As long as you don't put a chicken on top of it, it's okay.
Apparently, that is some of the things they want to
Is
do.
there any value in the existing car?
Yeah, well, we save
would
that
hold-
for, that'll
that would
become,
become the new spare.
yeah, that'll become
That won't
2108.
go anywhere. We'll leave it, the goal is try, keep that set up just the way it is, so in the event that you have to do a switch over, it's a backup. Currently, the backup is the 2001 Suburban, which, actually needs some service. But, usually try and move things along. The goal going forward was to design to have a truck that the box would be interchangeable. So
Yeah,
you
more
just
utility
change train. Because the way the vehicles have changed, the Suburban is not the utility vehicle that it was. And it's really getting very difficult to set these, what are really passenger vehicles, to set them up for emergency service is more and more difficult. We also no longer have the benefit of Mechanic Lucenti, who really did wonders with those cars. So it's time, to really look at something that is more utility, whether it's a chassis with a fabricated box or a pickup with a fire rescue designed insert. And those would be then later interchangeable, so going forward, you'd only be replacing much less expensive pickup trucks, say. And
When we
utilizing.
got 2102, the current 2102, that vehicle probably sat in the shop for 2 months, getting the radios put in, it has a pull-out table in the back of it where you can pull a table out, and all the equipment stacked on top of. It was modified inside quite a bit. It probably was, I will say, a month or 2 in that shop, getting its lights, its labeling, its striping, its, all that kind of stuff, which we will have some third-party vendor do now rather than do it in-house.
That is the other difference. We're looking for the vehicle, where we used to buy on OGS, get a regular vehicle. John would do extensive work, wiring it up, fabricating, removing a seat, fabricating things that just are getting harder and harder to do. The goal here is to have a vehicle delivered, ready to respond.
Right.
It'll be ready to go as soon as it shows up.
So, but we need one, and there's a live debate as to what that vehicle, as all things in the fire service, when people talk about it for 6 years, there's more and more conversations about each compartment and each door and each size and shape and color, and maybe not color, maybe color, but we need to get to an answer and then put it to bed. So hopefully by July we can have that put to bed. Okay, so we have that's it for board reports. Anybody else have any? We have the last month, in that May meeting, we gave, let me find it here. Okay. We had a bid opening that we announced at last month's meeting to redo the Tuckahoe Firehouse ramp and pour new cement and do the floor. That bid was opened up at $172,647.50. The attorney has now processed all the paperwork. There was one comment that came back, and that would, that we would accept $1 million coverage and liability insurance. With that said, the board will move forward on awarding the contract to Palladino Concrete Creation Corporation, and hopefully they will have this work done in short order. They're eager to get started in the next couple of weeks, we think, and they're hoped to be done by mid-July. So with that said, I would ask the board to authorize myself or Commissioner Inkledon, because I may not be around for the exact signing of the contract, to move forward with the award to Palladino Group.
Make a motion to. Second.
Okay, it's Jerry Napolitano and Peter Inkledon. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Inkledon?
Aye.
Commissioner?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. So we discussed that at last month's meeting, and that's where we are now. We also, at last month's meeting, discussed hiring, in case people didn't see it, FSI architectural firm to do the Chester Heights Firehouse. That cost comes in roughly around $32,000 to do a Phase 1 evaluation of the building to make sure, to see what we need going forward on the building. The lawyers have been going back and forth with Peter and myself, wordsmithing the document, and we are, again, myself or Mr. Inkledon, Commissioner Inkledon will execute that when they're finished wordsmithing the document. The board approved the contract at last month's meeting. Is that fair?
Yep.
That's fair for those two issues. We have bills to pay, which I have not read and gone through, which we are doing now. I don't know how much else I have on my agenda here, folks. Oh, we have to pick a date for
Ceremony.
a ceremony. What we'd like to do is have an award ceremony in September. Again, this is putting more onus on the chief to get organized with the membership on how this ceremony to come off. Basically, it's the membership and the chief that will be hopefully coming forward to the board to put this on and giving us the information to put it on. So it can be either September or October. October being fire prevention.
Start of well, that's right. October is Fire Prevention Month, and that was traditional.
If you want to do it during Fire Prevention Month, or we could do it September, which is on around the time the membership generally has its picnic, in that time frame.
We're having a picnic in July this year.
July?
Yeah, we're having it in July.
Oh, okay.
Picnic in the summer rather than the fall.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're not going to have the corn, though. The corn won't be as
October is considered fire prevention, there were past things, and I assume we're talking maybe doing something in conjunction with the meeting, or you're talking about a separate event?
I'm talking about in conjunction with the meeting.
Okay, well, actually, Lieutenant Phil Pinto is here, and he's my go-to guy right now. He's actually taken the lead and done a ton of work on it, and we will be putting the final things on it.
Right.
What's your opinion, Phil? Think the October meeting would be appropriate?
Gives you a little more
You
time.
don't want to have it at their picnic?
No, they wouldn't have time in July. They wouldn't be ready by July.
Okay.
I don't think it's something you do at a picnic.
Yeah.
You know, it's either at a meeting or a memorial service, but I
Yeah.
think memorial service more appropriate to remember people and not give out awards.
Right, correct. Okay, so let's plan for the October meeting to have an award ceremony, and, and we'll work together to get it to be a, appropriate reward ceremony, and it should be what you guys want it to be. That's my point. So, is that fair? The next one is we have PERMA, PERMA is a consortium of municipalities for workman's compensation insurance. It stands for Public Employees Risk Management Association. Now, workman's compensation insurance for municipal employees is not something that easily come by, just because generally when somebody gets injured in a municipal job, the first trip is to the hospital, and that's covered by workman's comp. Regardless of what the injury is, you generally always err on the side of caution, and so you're always at the hospital, a doctor, it's always a workman's compensation claim. So we actually have a fairly good experience rate in the last several years on our workman's compensation. So this year, we're coming in close to flat, I think, slightly, it's a slight difference.
Actually, with the adjustments, the last numbers are actually a small reduction.
$8,000 reduction over the
reduction.
prior year. And we use the Arthur Gallagher agency, who goes out and bids the workman's compensation for us. In the case of workman's compensation insurance, these claims tend to go on for multiple years when you have a fireman who's injured, so it's hard to change your carrier midstream. And so it's not something you want to change every year or every 2 years. We're looking next year to go out for a competitive bid again. We find this particular PERMA group to be fairly good, fire department friendly or management friendly, as far as being due diligent on following through on their paperwork and which is good for us and it's good for the employee because they document everything very well. It's just usually a good group that way.
Actually, well, there's a few things. First of all, as far as not maybe public employee, but for fire service, you're really very limited on workers' comp carriers. There's really only 3 in the state that would do fire. PERMA, I have found, because we've had experience with the other 2, they have their benefits, but along with keeping costs down, they are a consortium. It's not necessarily considered a private company. But while they do due diligence, I find that they're extremely responsive. They will immediately reach out. Their goal is to get the guys better. I have found that, as long as the members will, accept the call, they will quickly see to it that they get testing or whatever they need and the care. They're both, they are very responsive, and their goal is to get people better. So I've been very comfortable with them. Their pricing, I think, is right there. Actually, last year, John, didn't we actually get a few dollars back after an audit? So they will if the numbers, you got to realize, workers' comp premiums are based slowly on total compensation.
Right.
Total compensation. So, if you end up paying a little less at the end of the year, they will actually refund the money. And again, I believe they provide an excellent service all around.
Okay, so what they do is they come in, they audit how much our payrolls are on a periodic basis, and then they adjust, either bill up, credit us, or debit us based on how much overtime we have or didn't have, and it's based on an estimate in the beginning of the year, and they firm it up a little later. How workman's compensation works, it's not exactly a claims-made policy. Over time, if you were to switch your carrier next year to a new carrier, and the injury that happened while PERMA was your coverage, they would end up being the person liable for that, even going forward. So it's not claims made, you may have to make the claim during the policy, it's when the injury happened. So it's the carryover is long. So their cost will be $437,640 as a single payment. So I would ask for a resolution to approve the proposed offer by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services to renew the workman's compensation insurance with the Public Employees Risk Management Association for $437,640 as a single payment. We save 4% by making a single payment, 2% by making the single payment. So,
Make the motion.
Peter? I'll second it if anybody, so I'll second it. And Mr. Lori?
Aye.
Mr. Inkledon? Mr. Altano?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. So that's workman's comp. That policy comes due July 1st and ends, I normally put that in the resolution, I missed it that time. It's July 1st to,
Policy year, July 1 to June 30.
yeah, July 1 to July 1, 2016.
June 30.
Dennis, pass it over.
Yep. Okay, so that's the volunteers, that. Any new business this evening for members? Local 916, Stephen, have anything? Volunteers aren't here. Okay, so now we have the bills to pay.
Signature page.
What's it?
Signature page for this.
Oh,
It was there.
it was there, okay.
No?
All right. Opportunity for public to address the board. Anybody would like to talk to the board? No, Mary? Mary Smith?
Sorry.
What is the disposition of the school safety violations? Or have they been cleared? Are they substantially cleared?
I would consider them substantially cleared. There are things that required more time, but the school is, Captain Pitfell stay on top. They've been providing and showing that they've been, working diligently. I'm sure as the school breaks, they'll try and finalize maybe some electrical work, but they were very quick to respond on many of the items. Whatever they could handle right away, they did do, and some of the other issues that might have required a little work with the empty classroom were made safe and are being taken care of. Now, they were quite responsive.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, so while we're looking at the bills, there is, I'm going to make a comment about people should remember, check your house numbers on your houses to make sure your house numbers are visible, legible, clear, and the shrubbery hasn't covered them over. During the course of the winter, there was a medical call on my street. I knew what house it was because I knew the house number I just did. And the fire apparatus and the EMS was having a hard time finding the house. And I could hear the pager going, the radio conversation, people couldn't find the house. And I walked out and I realized that the sign that the person had was in the ground and covered with snow, and that's why they couldn't find it. Mark your houses clearly, because when there's an emergency, you're usually in a hyper state. You're not going to communicate as clearly as you normally would have, and it's much easier for the emergency services people to, when they pull up to a front door, to a house with a front door, the numbers over the front door or out by the curb and above the ground high enough for them to see. It's important to have those house numbers labeled. The house is labeled clearly. It just is, and it's just not done enough. Particularly as things grow, it hides the numbers.
Commissioner Winters, could I say something?
Sure.
I know it's the season where hedge trimming is up right now, and gardeners, people who have gardeners, please, and I beg of you, we went through this with the snow, now we're going through this with the gardeners. Tell your gardener, do not block the fire hydrant. Yesterday, I was walking down Waller Street, and the gardener had a bag full of grass clippings and 2 big bundles right against the fire hydrant. You couldn't even see it. And that's not the only one, but that one's a one that's always the same thing. Every week after the gardener finishes up on the top of Waller Street, he piles everything on top of the fire hydrant. I only hope that there's no fires in that area. And throughout the town, it's been done also. I only hope, please, advise your gardener or if you do it yourself, don't do that, please. We're gonna have a serious accident here someday. And also, on Sunday, at the Gate of Heaven Cemetery, they're having a ceremony for Staff Sergeant Robert Murray. He was killed on June 7th, 1970 in Vietnam, and he also received the Medal of Honor posthumously. He lived on the end of Dainty Avenue in Tuckahoe, so it's his anniversary that day. He saved his whole squad that day by throwing himself on top of a grenade. So I also asked the chairman if we could close the meeting in his honor for this evening.
Name again, I'm sorry?
Staff Sergeant Robert Murray. The ceremony's at 2 o'clock up at the Gate of Heavens in Valhalla. It's in section 43, if anyone wants to attend. It's going to be a big ceremony. There's American Legions, VFWs. The pipers are coming from Yonkers. It's going to be a very big ceremony.
Okay. Who has the bills? Did you agree?
Yeah, there's no signage page there.
Okay. Anthony, did you get a
Yeah,
chance to look? I haven't got a chance to look, but I'll take your word.
If I may, just comment while you're finishing up, just some summer tips, if I neglected earlier, forgetting the time of year since it got so cool the last couple of days. One thing I always like to remind people with regards to propane, grills especially, first of all, make sure your grills are clean, no cobwebs or spider nests in there that cause backup. But more importantly, if you're going to fill propane tanks, make it the last stop on your list, bring them straight home, get them out of the car, out of the trunk. They will expand and have been known to rupture, so don't leave them in the cars. And along with that, just exercise as the pool season gets into swing. Just be extra cautious. Yeah, we did actually, one of the things, we've had our own members fortunately save a life because somebody turned their back for a second and a small child went under and was drowning. That incident worked out well, but all too often it doesn't. So just exercise extreme safety with your barbecue equipment and around pools or any of that. It's that time of year. So have a safe start to the summer.
With the pool, I'll give you one thing I learned recently about gas tanks. When you buy the gas tanks from the prepackaged gas tanks that are already filled, those cans are 20-pound cans. So it's a container that accepts 20 pounds of gas. The label will tell you, generally, it's 15 pounds of gas in that brand new shiny tank. So if you're wondering why you're using more gas than you thought you were using, the prepackaged gas tanks are generally 15 pounds in a 20-pound tank. So when you look at the labels now, you will notice it. And I only noticed this when I brought a can up to an old school refilling station when the guy explained it to me, and it was clear as day, he was right. But and now you look at them, they're all 15 pounds in 20-pound tanks.
It's safety.
Well, that came in
You
effect
think it's
years
safer?
back. Well, years back, what happened was they realized, not so much that, maybe there was some case where they were overfilling them, because the propane under pressure becomes a liquid, it comes out as a gas. They're allowing for a cushion in that 20-pound cylinder, supposed to hold 20 pounds of fluid, you're not filling it all the way. The newer ones actually now have a safety shutoff, almost like a little ball cock valve inside that will close the valve. The reason being is it was more so that people would get them, throw them in the trunk, go drive around, and by the way, don't lay them down. Laying them down is the worst thing you can do because you defeat the relief valve that's in the valve up top, because now the liquid is blocking the vent. That's why they've changed the code where they're only allowed to fill them partially.
So
They
that's
have to
what it
allow
is?
that airspace so that if they do heat up, the relief valve will work. And it's when that blocks, and it's referred to as a blevy, not explosion, because it's liquid originally, but it will instantly split, and that 20 pounds becomes, is enough to consume a block if it ignites at one shot.
So I gotta start using that tank first.
You-
No, just hook up natural gas.
That's the easiest thing, yeah.
Okay, so payment of bills. We have $92,871.67 worth of bills, so it's $92,871.67. So can I get a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Motion paid those, so
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, that's it for tonight's business, and
we're gonna pay this separately then?
we already paid it. We already
You
did
made a
it.
separate motion. All right, okay.
We did a
But it's
separate,
not gonna be on here.
no,
Oh, I know. Well, that's a good,
So we're not.
John,
gonna
you
put-
said that 2% savings, that's if it's paid in full by a certain time?
but we approved you, but we approved it, paying it by the resolution. We don't have to do it on the vouchers.
Is that supposed to be 2%? Which should be like $9,000, $8,000.
It'll be 8,000 and change.
Yeah, I used the number they had in there, in here.
So you're gonna reduce that by $8,000.
But John, have you
Reduce
actually,
Stand on there, there's one premium, if you pay it in full by July 10th, reduce it by 2%.
okay, but you don't actually have the bill in hand. This is the quote. So have you,
Yeah, 'cause
you
the
have,
bill is not in the warrants.
basically, the thing is, you don't want to risk the 2% if the meeting to approve the bills is late. So you should really approve the payment when due? Is that what you,
Because
Then again, what should, resolve is that, when the bill gets here, assuming the 437 is the right number, we apply the 2% discount against it.
Right.
there's no date on here, so I guess we could pay next.
no, this is a quote. That's what I'm saying, hasn't gotten a bill. But usually, if you want to get that 2% discount, you have to pay by a certain time. It's like within 10 days, otherwise you pay the full price.
Well, the board already approved paying it, so John can pay it.
Well, that's what we basically just clarified because,
Yeah,
John will not cut checks until you approve it.
well, we approved it.
Okay. That's
Okay,
And then, since you've approved it, we can pay that between now and the next meeting.
right,
Okay.
okay. So, I'll make a motion, we close the meeting in honor of Staff Sergeant Robert Murray, who was a Korean War veteran.
Vietnam.
Vietnam War veteran who, from Tuckahoe. Right? Okay, so, a moment of silence,
motion adjourned?
and then we'll adjourn. Okay, who wants to say you're going to close the meeting?